A very warm welcome to this episode where we will be talking about this dance from South India, from the state of Andhra Pradesh, called Kuchipudi, and we'll be looking at the historical aspects and also some of the technical aspects of it. Welcome again to this session. This is part of the lecture series where we have been dealing with the many classical dance forms of India, ranging from Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, Odissi, Kathakali, Manipuri, and so on. So this is one of the sessions, and this is meant for the certificate program in performing arts, Bharatanatyam, and as part of the ODN 001, which is Understanding Indian Classical Dance Forms. And there we go. To this session, we will be having an overview of this wonderful dance form from the state of Andhra Pradesh, Kuchipudi. If we look at the history of the dance form, everything goes back to an era which is the pre-Christian era, and we have evidence of the many episodes of Buddhist stories depicted on in the stupas, so in the stone reliefs. And likewise in the state of Andhra Pradesh too, we have had many evidences in the form of stupas from the period of the Satavahanas, that is before the second century BC, and then extending till the 3rd century AD, and so on a little more. So there we have some of the temples, some of the not actually temples, but sites of worship like Nagarjuna Konda, Amaravati. And so these are the places from where we have evidences that dance used to be practiced at that point of time. So in whichever way it was presented, but then dance as an art form was prevalent at that particular time. Either in the temples or in the courts or in the common public places, in wherever it was. And these are episodes actually from the Buddhist literature. So you have on the top right a stupa from Amaravati, which depicts a scene of dance. A dancer is performing, and you have another dancer looking at her, and there are accompanying musical accompanists who are also engaged in presenting this. So it's a live concert. And so we have this beautiful piece. This is dated to sometime before the 3rd century BC, 3rd century AC, I'm sorry. So AD. Here we have this panel from Amaravati. There is also, and later on when we come to a period much after that, that is in the form of proofs, in the form of written manuscripts, then we find this document called, it's a chronicle called Machupalli Kaifiyat from the 1505. So this talks about a troupe, actually a dance troupe coming in and then performing, and they talking about what did they, it was just not a performance which was intended to convey their suffering in the hands of a local chieftain. So that was how it was recorded on the Machupalli Kaifiyat, that this troupe talks about their sufferings under a chieftain, and then they present it to the king or the one of the members of the court, and then and as a result of that they get the king takes action against the chieftain, and he is defeated. So that is the effect of the dance form at that particular point. It was used as a contemporary art wherein it conveyed the many anxieties of the performing artist. It was used as a socially relevant mode of expression also. So that is what we find from this chronicle called Machupalli Kaifiyat. And then in the 16th and in that time, or a little before that, you have Krishna Deva Raya of the Nayak kings of the Vijayanagara Empire. So they have also given considerable patronage. Their kingdom extended to Tamil Nadu, and so there also you have in the Tamil kingdom their patronage extended to Bharatanatyam too, and in the temple sculptures too, they used a whole lot of the poses used in those kinds of dances. So a lot of emphasis on the music and art and dance during that time, and these are the arts that flourished during Krishna Devaraya's time. So, and then another proof or evidence is from the Nawab of Golconda, Qutub Tanisha. So Golconda is a part in Hyderabad, but there again their reign and their rule extended to this part of the Andhra Pradesh where from this art form started or even became popularized. This is Kuchipudi. This is a Kuchipudi village in the district of Krishna from Andhra Pradesh. So the Nawab of Golconda was very much pleased with the troupe that performed for him, and so the troupe of Brahmins. So he gifted this village of Kuchipudi, it seems, to this group. So that is how this village called Kuchipudi came into the hands of this performing troupe, and there they kind of gave a lot of emphasis to the continuance of this lineage of this Guru Shishya Parampara. So that we have reference to in that period is around 17th century, and but these are some of the inscriptions, and these are the found in the temples, found in the forts. But before this, we can find that there were texts that were written from the 11th century onwards. So there was an explosion of this textual tradition. If you see the pan-Indian phenomenon also, you have a lot of emphasis on the texts that came up during from the 11th to the 14th century. Abhinay Darpanam, and then down south you have Sangeeta Ratnakara, and then in Andhra you have these texts which were very prevalent, which were written by a number of authors, particularly from this part of the country. You have Saraswati Hridayalankara by Nanyadeva, then Someshwara's Manasollasa, then there are other ones like Abhilashitartha Chintamani, Sangeeta Chudamani, and Nritta Ratnavali. So this kind of a tradition starts from the 11th century onwards. So you have an umpteen number of references from almost like the 10th century onwards, which talks about the prevalent conditions of the dance. Though before that, in the sculptures of the Satavahanas, there is a slight gap between what was depicted and the number of years from where that took up is a little the gap is a little much, but then when it comes to the textual tradition, it has replaced the sculptural evidences. So we do know that there were a lot of dance and arts that were music that were happening. So these texts refer to this. Then when we come on to the 13th century, you have again a text which has a direct reference to the contemporary art. In fact, Perini is also talked about as the Deshi kind of a dance in some of the other texts too. Here, Basava Purana of Palkuriki Somanatha of the 13th century. So this also talks about this dance form called Perini. Perini, which is now understood as Perini Tandava, Perini Natya. So Perini Shiva Tandava, which has taken the form of and which was brought in and reconstructed by Nataraj Ramakrishna Garu. So this has its reference from this text called Basava Purana. And when we look at the tradition of this Kuchipudi dance, it started from what is called the Perini, and then the Yakshaganas also were there in Karnataka. So there is a lot of Veerashaivism which was going on in the adjacent state of Karnataka. Then there is this influence of that in the art forms also. You have this example of Perini, and then there are also then started the Vaishnavism. So therein came the art forms called like Pagati Veshalu. So Pagati Vesham is where it's mostly a dramatic presentation wherein you have the Vaishnavite themes coming in. And then there came in this era wherein dance had to take an important stage. So therein we have a lot of songs being written, like poets like Narayana Tirtha, who wrote many tarangams. Tarangams are very special for dances because they have a lot of emphasis. They have a lot of swaras and solfa passages. Not only that, by chollukattas, pataksharas, that are meant to be danced. So from therein you have this evidence of the dance culture that existed at that time. So importance in poems of Narayana Tirtha. And then during his time, a little later after his time, is Siddhendra Yogi, who again is a Vaishnavite, who went around to Udupi. He traveled to Udupi, and then he was influenced by Madhvacharya, and then he came down to Andhra, and then he brought in the elements. He was well versed in Sanskrit. He brought in elements from Natya Shastra, and then there are also the Devadasis who were also there at the temples, who were serving the gods, and who were also part and parcel of this dance culture. So he brought in the dance elements from the Devadasi culture, and then they developed a solo musical theatre, dance drama theatre. So there are two parallel traditions, if you see, that came up during this time. One is called the Natuva Melam, and then the Natya Melam. Like in the tradition of Bharatanatyam, if you look at, you have Periya Melam and the Chinna Melam. Periya Melam is something that happens on the outskirts of the temple. So on the outskirts of the temple, that meant that the Chinna Melam that engaged the Devadasis within the temple precincts. So Chinna Melam consisted of the dancer, her accompanist, her guru, the Nattuvanar, and all that. So it was meant to be an offering to the temple deity. Likewise, the Periya Melam consisted of the Nadaswaram, the bigger instruments, which and then the tawal. So they used to play. So that was called the Periya Melam. There was no dance as such which was in this thing during the performance of the Periya Melam. But here in this Telugu country, you have this concept called Natuva Melam and the Natya Melam. And here Natuva, that is something that engaged the Nattuvanar. And there you have the women playing roles. So the dance was performed by women, and but then there was normally female impersonation. Men usually took up the roles of female also. That is called the Natuva Melam. And Natya Melam is performed by men and women. So here you have this, and Natuva Melam is something that also I believe engaged the Devadasi culture too. Because Natya Melam was normally performed for the general public, for the entertainment of the audience. So this is a dance troupe which moves from place to place, Natya Melam. An example of which you saw in the Machupalli Cafe, which was referred to. So that must have been an example of a Natya Melam. Where they also talk about it's not religious, it is not necessarily religious, it talks about community affairs, it talks about the policies, maybe satirical in nature, but then it is presented so to the general public to entertain the audience. And so there it got this form of Kuchipudi dance drama. So these traditions kind of came together, and with the help of pioneers like Siddhendra Yogi, who brought in elements from Natya Shastra, from the Devadasi tradition, you have this dance drama which is coming up, and then this kind of a performance is something that had the Purvaranga, and then followed by all the elements of the dance. So the Purvaranga with emphasis on the Ranga Puja, and then followed by the Nritta, and so on. So if you look at the Kuchipudi dance drama, it is very structured. It starts with the Guru Stuti and a Nandi, followed by the Purvaranga, which consists of the Punyaha Vachana, Indra Dhwaja Praushtha, Dhupa, Deepa, Pushpanjali, and so on. So these are the ritualistic aspects of it, and then this is followed by the actual entry of the Sutradhar. The Sutradhar with this crooked stick, which is called the Kutilaka, comes in and then tells the audience, engages the audience, and talks about what is going to be presented. So this is the dance drama format of the Kuchipudi that we are talking now about. And then you have this curtain entry of the main characters. Curtain is called the Yavanika here. And the first entry is by Ganesha, and then the dance drama goes on. So there may be a Kalapam which follows, it may be a Satyabhama entry in the Bhamakalapam, and the very many aspects of the Kalapam which comes in are portrayed by the character and the accompanying artist also. So that is how the drama goes. And if you look at the many dance dramas which were written during that time, you have Prahaladanatakam, Ramanatakam, then Usha Parinayam, Chenchu Lakshmi, Shashireka Parinayam, Nalacharitam, and so on. These were mainly some of the popular dramas. So one of the most popular here is the Bhamakalapam, and which is also been used in the solo repertoire, and as it is more popular, and as the character is usually done by the female. It used to be done by a male, but as it was more popular, then the role of Satyabhama was portrayed, and then the solo dance form brought in this element from the Bhamakalapam. So therein we have Bhamakalapam, which is an interaction between Krishna and his consort Satyabhama. So this was written by Siddhendra Yogi. It talks about, this image that you see here is of Vedantam Satyanarayana Sharma Garu. So here we have an image, a very old image, where he holds his braid. The braid is of great importance here in this episode, and it is said that this Bhamakalapam talks about Parijata Apaharanam. So wherein Krishna is asked to bring the tree of to bring the Parijata flower from Indra's garden, and he lands up uprooting the whole tree. So this is wherein Satyabhama enters with a Pravesha Dharu, and then the importance of the Jada or the braid is such that she throws over the braid over the curtain, the Yavanika, and then this actually takes one day, and there is exposition about the Jata. It is supposed to have 27 stars, 5 hooded mythical serpent, and then the tiny gold images of 10 avatars of Lord Vishnu. And that is how the Patra Pravesham of Satyabhama happens in the Bhamakalapam. This is also the Kuchipudi dance drama tradition. And when you come to the solo tradition, the solo tradition has elements, technical elements. The units are called Adavus or Adugus, and then the Cholkat is called the or Cholkat or the Pataksharas. And so it is almost similar to the Bharatanatyam tradition in the way of the presentation of the repertoire. It starts with a Pushpanjali. There is no Alaripu as in Bharatanatyam, and then it goes on to Shabdam. Then this main aspect of the Bhamakalapam, the main Praveshadharu is rendered. It may be any other Varnam also that is performed, which has a right mix of both Nritta and Nritya. And then this very interesting piece called Tarangam comes in. Tarangam is this a composition, as we have earlier seen, by Narayana Tirtha, and those have very beautiful syllables, mnemonic syllables, which are performed. And in Kuchipudi, the dancer performs these on a plate, and she brings it on the stage and then places it, and then places her feet, both her feet, on the plate, brass plate, and therein she performs this tarangam. The tarangams, many tarangams are there, and they are in many ragams also. And so this is a very interesting aspect of balancing oneself and keeping to the rhythm, at the same time performing with the facial expression and the hastabhinaya. So that is kind of what's performed in this item called Tarangam. And then there may be a Kirtanam, and the aspect of Abhinaya is highlighted in these items called the Padams and the Javalis. There are also sometimes items called Manduka Shabdam. Shabdam of many varieties are there, and one interesting one is called the Manduka Shabdam, which is a story of a frog maiden. Kalapams are many. Kalapam means dance drama. So Siddhendra Yogi composed Bhamakalapam. Likewise, he composed many other Kalapams also. There is one interesting Kalapam which is a dialogue between a Gopi and a Brahmin, and it is a satirical plot. And this is also a Kalapam. This is also kind of a dance drama. So this Kalapam is also sometimes involved or taken up by the solo artists. So this technique is involves both Nritta and Nritya, and some aspects of the Kalapam. So we have Natya aspect also. The picture that you have been seeing at the background of this is the illustration of the Jata, which holds a lot of importance in the Kuchipudi repertoire here. So when we look at the history of it, we have looked at how the dance form has developed over time from the period of the Satavahanas, and then later on to the period of Krishna Devaraya, the Nayaks who encouraged dancing, and then the coming of the Mughal influence, and then the Nawabs also, who gave importance to dance, who gave patronage, who gave importance, who in way of land, and then in cash and kind, they kind of gave patronage. Not only this, apart from all this, we have this existence of the Devadasi culture, which had been prevalent, and so we have a parallel tradition called Natya Melam, and the which has also been in existence. So the solo form which came up has had contributions from many different artists, Vedantam Satyanarayana Sharma, then we have Vempati Chinna Satyam Garu. All of them have contributed to the development of the solo style as we are seeing it today. So I do hope that you have understood elements of history, some parts of the aspects of technique, some most importantly the elements of the Kuchipudi dance drama, how the entry happens, and who are the main players in the dance drama, and then coming to Kalapam, what the story is about and how it goes about, the importance of Bhama's Jata in Kuchipudi, and then the repertoire of Kuchipudi. wherein we have the equal importance given to Nritta, Natya and Nritya. So I do hope this has been an enlightening session, and this will help you understand the aspects, and also help you in analyzing. If you see a performance, it will help you analyze the different bits of it and also understand what items they are performing. Hope to see you again in the forthcoming episodes. So, thank you.
Are you a fresh graduate? Do you want to fulfill your education